Hello everyone. Thought I'd make a quick video demonstrating this week's work on budgie-shell's panel, particularly around the work done on the configuring of panels. And this is leveraging our new path class here, which follows the pimple or pointer and implementation or pointer to implementation technique that hides away all the actual implementation details in our path private here. So that basically is what we do already for a QML loader, and it enables us to abstract away all the implementation details without breaking APIs. So if I scroll all the way up here, you can see we have our budgie roots and all that as part of our path private class, and a function for checking if it's a safe file name. So making sure we don't have any fun characters like slash or dot operators, and checking if it's a safe path entirely, and so on and so forth. So I implemented a path class that at a high level is intended to reduce redundant code for getting various paths, like to our budgie root, like here, our shell root to a given profile, and to a given panel within a profile. And this is because budgie 11 will isolate any relevant configs into profiles, so we can easily swap between them as end users. So if you wanted to have a work profile, and then after a long day's work you want to do some gaming, you could go in, you could swap to a game profile, and suddenly a bunch of configurations will change relevant to that. And right now it's at a global level, but I suspect we will make it so each component can have its own profile, so that way you could be a little bit more granular. For example, you might want Magpie to behave differently between work and gaming, or who knows. Sky's the limit. And this will all be moved into a budgie core library, so that way it could be leveraged in Magpie, but right now it's in our lib shell here in budgie-shell. So for configuration, I built on my learnings from Magpie and doing Magpie configuration. So I'm continuing to use kconfig xt, kconfig, and in fact, I'm leveraging kconfig xt here, and it's a little bit more useful in the case of the panel because we're able to more strictly define things like an appearance group with auto hide and dock mode and the sizing of that relevant panel and whether or not you have transparency, and then how we define listing extensions across different regions. And right now we have output as an integer. That'll change to be an output serial that we have that's consistent. And of course, the edge of the output that you want it on. So we automatically create our panelrc, and I could actually demonstrate that in a sec. And I will go ahead and let's see what I'll do here. We're gonna rm tech rf shell. So we automatically create it, but as you can see, for development purposes, we just dump everything, all the defaults, into a panelrc. In reality, in production, we would only add what is actually changed, because otherwise, if we made a change upstream, or your distribution that ships budgie 11 made a default change, well, then that wouldn't be propagated to you because you would have a full list of all these different values. But for testing, we just load everything. It makes it a lot easier for development. So I went ahead and just deleted all the shell, and if I do ls, you can see there's nothing there because, well, the directory doesn't exist. We're using a hard-coded UUID here for testing, and if I run task, if I could type, of course, task run, you could see we have our totally built for production budgie panel down here with everything you need, which is basically a label. And you could see we set some exclusion zones, we have the panel edge and so on, and we create it. And if I do an ls, of course, it would help if I basically went back to it. If I did shell, and I go profiles, and I go main, which is the main one, You could see I have that here, and I have my panelrc. And what I could do is I could go ahead and fire up micro here. And if I make a change to our size, what happens, and I'm not going to save it yet, is that will trigger our file watcher, which will trigger a reread, and we have a bunch of logic for, and this is sort of hand-mangled logic. Whether or not it actually remains this way remains to be seen, but it works at the moment, where we get all the old values and we compare them against the new ones from our new file, and we fire off particular events and also set particular properties. And then that gets propagated to our view here, where we connect up our size changed as an example of our panel config to particular events that we should do and functions that we should call in this view. And this view is what actually renders the QML. So if I change this to 60, you could see it resized to 60. And if I change it back to 32, you could see it's 32. If I go back to 60, it's 60. So nothing too crazy, but of course it's the early days for it. And what this really shows is that once we start doing things out of process, like the actual control center, and that is manipulating the config, we could just do that with any sort of file modification, and that easily propagates to the individual components. So quite liking that model and quite liking what we've done so far, and I hope you do too. So that's it for now, and thanks for watching.